Let it go, let it snow. The commentary's finally
Can
here.
we go back
Richard
to watch?
Roy and T.O.
Oh,
Our destiny is finally clear. Here we stand on Christmas Eve today.
can we
Let
go? Oh, sorry.
reviews or roasts come. The song will never leave your brain anyway.
Can we go? Can we go
Yay!
watching the 2005 British movie instead?
Yeah, that's
No.
Nah,
marvelous. That's marvelous singing, Jim. And meanwhile, you've been singing so long. I swear my legs have turned into icicles.
well, you see, Dwibs, that's the secret. I sing to keep myself warm. Okay,
We should be used to this
well,
cold in this country, Twifts.
No, I'm not.
so here's a movie that's only a year older than our show, really, essentially, and one that we've alluded to even as early as our first year's going, much to Dwibs and Tio's chagrin, essentially, whenever that song got referenced, and no doubt, this is a movie you are quite familiar with. Even if you're a normie, you've heard of this movie because Disney practically worshipped this movie, essentially.
It was considered the highest grossing animated movie of all time for a while.
Until Lion King snuck up on it. Oh, it's not the 2005 version, it's not the 2010 version, it's 2013's Frozen. Oh me, oh my. Now, as you may know with Disney, a lot of their film can be separated into different eras, essentially. From the golden era of their animation that started it all, to the silver animation, the bronze, and, of course, one of my favorites, the Renaissance. But we're not talking about any of those. Instead, let's fast forward a bit to the turning of the point from the post-Renaissance, or the experimental, or some people call it the Second Dark Age, right after 2009, where we went to what is considered the modern era, essentially, with stuff like Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Winnie and the Pooh, Big Hero 6, Wreck-It Ralph, but we have not yet come up with a new era. However, if I were to mark where the next era of Disney arguably began, I would say it is with this movie. Okay, let's not beat around the bush here. I like this movie. I respect it. And it is yet another bout of reasons about why I roll my eyes whenever people say, oh, the public domain only gives us trash and schlock. And every time I have to remind them, guys, if it weren't for public domain, we wouldn't have a lot of Disney's biggest hits. And this film is no exception. Even though you probably wouldn't be able to tell with how the final result came out, this is a movie that is based off of Hans Christian Andersen's story, The Snow Queen, essentially. And believe it or not, this is actually something that technically had been explored since late 1937. Yes, that's right, this idea technically hails from the brainwaves of the original Walt Disney himself, essentially. But as you can imagine, for one reason or another, the film would languish into... I don't know if development hell is the best term,
In the
but...
Plan B, similar to how Marvel and DC had something called backup stories that were basically written quickly on the spot and put, on pause just in case there was an emergency in need of them. And I would like to remind, for those who don't know, that it kind of fits for this too, because similar to Lion King in the 90s, Disney had absolutely no real faith in this movie. They believed it was gonna be just another one. I don't know what they were specifically banking around this time instead, but they were not expecting this to blow up.
Oh, yes. It's perfect you brought up Lion King because I do consider Frozen to basically be this era's Lion King. Like Lion King, it was a relatively modest project with a relatively unknown cast. Okay, to be fair, the cast of Lion King was definitely known, but let me just put it like this. Idina Menzel did not have top billing back in the day, essentially. Which, let's be honest, that would probably not be the case in this day and age. Thanks to this movie, honestly. But it was a relatively modest movie, budget of $150 million. Disney were thought, okay, this will just be another Disney princess flick. It ended up grossing $280 billion.
Jesus.
Like, yes, it went on to become the highest grossing animated film, a spot held by Lion King for a good section of the time, which is funny given how it and Lion King would kind of fight over the position, essentially. Like, the original Lion King got re-released, bumped up, then Frozen 2 came out, that took the spot, then Lion King 2019 was in a state where Disney thought, wait, we consider it live action, but it's technically all animated, so let's call it an animated flick, specifically just so we can say we have the highest grossing animated flicks and all that. That being said, whereas Lion King back in the day seemed to inspire pretty much just improvements, go bigger and bolder but still unique, one side effect of Frozen, I feel, is due to the different mindset of Disney at the time. Disney's mindset was, oh, people of Frozen. Let's do everything Frozen did, essentially, for a lot of our later fairy tale flicks. Okay, that's not entirely fair. Again, I think Frozen's a good movie. I think it's also a bit of a frustrating movie to talk about because of what it would later inspire. And that's not entirely Frozen's fault itself, honestly. It's more so the fault of devs who thought, oh, Frozen did this subversive thing, let's make subversion in all our other films. But again, it's hard to not talk about it with that because it kind of goes hand in hand. As you'll recall, Frozen would inspire Disney to do a lot of running trends here, subverting fairy tales essentially, going about how Disney princesses don't really need no man, how true love's kiss ain't really all a thing, we'll talk more about that later, and of course, well, I'll save one trope as a surprise essentially on the off chance you haven't seen this movie. That being said, let's not beat around the bush anymore and dive into the trenches, shall we? Start at the, as of now, traditional Disney logo until they potentially make another new one.
Well, specifically, there's a black screen with chanting before that.
In 3, 2, 1, click.
Let's carve this cold turkey open. For me, these movies spell trouble from the start, believe it or not. For starters, lucky coincidence, I know, but I actually kinda did grow up with the original Snow Queen tale. I know that it's not too far-fetched because it's not super obscure, but among the Hans Christian Andersen tales, it's not the one that everyone remembers immediately, because the two that are major remember are The Ugly Duckling and, of course, The Little Mermaid. Second, the teaser for this movie pissed me off big time, because already I was questioning, you want to make an adaptation of the Snow Queen from her perspective. Okay, it's new, I guess, original, we'll have to see how that pans out. And the first teaser is just the two comic relief characters fucking around in the snow. The snowman, Olaf, will get to him, and the moose. The teaser with about Chicken Little when he dances to Drago's telling tale before being squashed by a metal, crate or anything, that was far worse, but this teaser for this movie did not inspire, any confidence in me. And it only was about to get worse.
So I'm guessing you are probably somebody who doesn't think too highly of this movie. Not in the sense that you hate it, but...
I understand its artistic value, the fact that it's well composed, well made, well acted, well made in music and everything. I just don't think it does a good service for the adaptation in the fact that in the true Disney tradition, it basically reshapes the context on how people, view the story and everything.
So what are they doing here? Find out who's the first to die from falling into the water?
Basically, they're breaking and harvesting ice.
I also do wonder when exactly... Okay, I guess with the Princess and the Frog, because I was wondering when exactly did Disney started having confidence again in trying again with the older format, which was replacing the renaissance of the musical style era, because Tangled had it.
Wait a minute. Wait, they said let it go in this song, so...
Arc Wars.
Not yet, Dwibs, not yet. But
the other song ripped it off.
It is funny you mention those arc words, but that has to do a bit with the development of this movie. I won't get to that point, though. What I will talk about is if there's one thing I recall, it is seeing, of course, a teaser that suggested that we were going to have a party of Anna with several guys. Snow Guy, Ice Guy, and Nice Guy, as the teaser trailer put it, to defeat her evil sister who was intentionally freezing the land. You know, something akin to what you might expect from
For
the
those who
Snow
don't
Queen.
know, the original tale of the Snow Queen is about a bunch of lost children who run into her and almost get killed by her and her troll minions. It's Hans Christian Andersen, so you know kind of what to expect. Just a bit of, bittersweetness to it.
Well, Tio, I have some good news for you. If you wanted a proper Snow Queen movie, Russia actually provided
course.
one a year prior to this one, essentially. Now, there are some allegations, people wonder on whether or not this was Russia trying to cash in on the potential hype for Frozen. I do recall there being a joke in the media saying there will be another Cold War, but not between munitions, but between movies or something
Really?
of that regard,
Also,
essentially.
I know this is 2013 computer generated animation, but am I the only one who thinks that the head models for the children's versions of Elsa and Anna are too big for their bodies?
Well, okay, if I recall correctly, this was the movie that convinced Disney, guys, people really like Tangled and people really like this movie, so guess what? This is the art style we'll be using for most of our Disney movies from now on. And as you can imagine, it has not always translated the best regarding certain models, or by the time of Wish, certain characters and whatnot.
Connected to what you were saying before, Jova, I do have a personal theory on a previous draft that this movie had, but we had to wait until the end.
There are some things I can actually confirm, but again, I'll wait till later points in the movies.
Sure.
Also, remember that name Olaf. But yes, one thing I do recall at least was going to a drive-through with my family at some point and seeing a teaser trailer for this movie where Elsa here was definitely the bad guy, essentially, and Anna was in a party with the likes of Hans. No, not Christian Andersen. There's actually a character called Hans.
It's a
Kristoff
common name.
and Olaf. Uh-oh.
You see, Elsa, now you understand that from great power come great responsibility. Oh, wait, no.
I'm like
Oh,
9 years old.
Congrats, you gave your sister her first white streak and she's not even 10 yet.
Also, for those who haven't played the game, you probably are pondering how all of this shit was adapted in Kingdom Hearts 3. Don't worry, me or someone else will tell by the time the movie is over because it's a treat.
You know, yeah,
Oh,
I
in
might
case
as
you're
well
wondering,
get ahead of...
those are actually proper rules, not just cribbling. I did not have the time to catch up specifically what he
So
said, but
the start of this movie is all Anna's fault.
Kind of, sort of. Also, yeah, Kristoff was secretly there all along. Remember this for later. So, yeah, one thing I'll get out of the way. Yes, of course, there is a Broadway musical adaptation for this. Obviously, since they can't replicate stone trolls, instead, these guys are mountain people in the Broadway version.
fair enough, makes sense. It's kind of like how, for the Lion King, they just have people in fursuits.
Wanna bet?
Hey, you just gotta put some dye on it.
That is a terrible idea.
So, like, because it works so well in Identity Crisis for DC Comics.
Ignore the
You know-
problem. It will go away.
Just casual brainwashing.
The
So
weird
how
thing
you gonna
is
keep
the
it hidden?
Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing there. After all, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering.
Fear will be your enemy as I tell this story that scares the shit out of this child.
So, of course, Elsa and Anna's parents, in their infinite wisdom, chose to basically conceal their daughters in with very little outside contact
I
from
would also
anyone.
just like to point out that for this intro, we don't really get, outside of the initial musical number, we don't really get the scope, how big and how important the life in Arendelle is supposed to be. You know, the stuff that we got at the beginning of Tangled instead. Even with the limited information that we have, we understood immediately how big the kingdom was, how important it was, and how Mother Gothel fucked them over.
You know, building a snowman is how you got into this mess in the first place.
But Liv, she doesn't remember because her memory was wiped.
They gave her a sparkly lobotomy.
And Elsa's like, oh god, please shut up. Yeah.
And yes, this song has many, 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 many parodies, including even one for Breaking Bad of all things.
I was gonna say, I can't hear this without hearing Do You Want to Build a Meth Lab?
Yes. I think that and Do You Want to Hide a Body are the most famous parodies. You know, maybe it wasn't Elsa's powers that would have killed Anna, but just Anna's own lack of self-preservation.
That Joan of Arc.
Yes. Hang in there, Joan, she says.
Oh boy, is Anna's story gonna end the same as Joan's, I wonder?
Wouldn't it be funny? She gets fire powers while Elsa gets ice powers. Getting upset only makes it worse, so we'll just make sure that you're hidden away from the world even more. What do you mean that makes you more upset, honey?
You know
It's
what?
important not to scare her. Get scared, get scared, get scared.
You know what also upsets me a bit? This is basically taking a page out of the revised backstory of... We were talking about DC Comics, about the superheroine Ice that was in the Justice League satellite era for a while. Again, not talking in a sense of, oh, it's a ripoff, so it's bad. More in a case of, that revised backstory for Ice is considered one of the lowest points of the character. And why would you want to reference that? Oh, and by the way,
yeah, they're dead.
Disney went on to say that the two people, Elsa and Anna's parents, were tied instead to, if I recall correctly, to Tarzan's parents. So it's fucking weird too.
Yeah, apparently there's been word that that ship is canonically the same one from Tarzan that sank, or something. I don't really
Disney
remember
trying to
how
either
official
be
that was.
very tongue-in-cheek stuff, or, you know, wanting to be cute and try, you know, in the whole craze about connecting everything. But to be fair, it seems that for now they have dropped that, so...
If I recall correctly, I'm okay with that being the ship that Ariel finds, because, hey, Hans Christian Andersen universe and whatnot.
That makes
One
sense.
thing that absolutely is confirmed, though, apparently this is canon to Tangled. Like,
Yes,
Eugene and Rapunzel even show up in the movie.
This is why
I was gonna say, I think in a moment when we see a bunch of people,
Yeah.
there will be some cameos in there.
This is kind of why I wanted at least one single Frozen-centric crossover episode for the Tangle series, because the potential was there, and not taking advantage of that felt a waste.
I will say this, for everyone who tries to act like, oh, Frozen
years
subverted
later.
everything, yeah. I will say, for everyone who acts like Frozen subverted everything, it sure didn't subvert the dead Disney parents now, did it?
So
But,
now
yeah, no.
the parents are dead. Who's running the kingdom?
Shut up.
No, Ariel found the ship and told them about the milk store under the sea.
It's also worth noting
Beautiful.
that intentionally Wish sets up a lot of the stuff that it acts as a sort of progenitor for almost all of the Disney movies.
Yeah.
Which
We'll talk,
honestly,
and don't worry, folks.
Jesus Christ, the hygiene conditions and everything. And honestly, to me, that's one of the least parts of the problems that movie had. At the very least, yes, I know that there's the craze going around of, oh no, companies want to cannibalize everything into a cohesive narrative in a way it makes no sense. But I don't know. I think for an anniversary movie like that, I think it was fine.
Yeah, no, that's like the least of Wish's
Anna, wake
issues.
up.
Don't worry. Anna, it's time for your musical
Christ
number.
of the air. Is she gonna become, what was that name of the horror host? I forgot her name. That's such blasphemy.
Elvira?
Yes.
Oh my god, she does have Elvira's hairdo with that look.
Just needs to sprinkle some black dye and there you go.
I forgot that she keeps that white strand of hair. I thought she only gets it later back in the
No,
movie.
well, it's symbolized.
I'm surprised the parents didn't glue the windows closed.
It is tied to the accident where she got, pocket ice in her eye, so...
I get that. I just always remember she only gets it back later. I thought it wore off, but whatever.
Okay, I guess it's the Ultra HD quality and blah blah blah. I can tell that the animation still has aged fine for the most part, but at least in some points for the facial expression you can kinda tell that this was still 2013. As in, it would be refined later.
Now, I will say this. Despite some misgivings I do have with this movie, spoilers, I'll admit, while I do like it, I am in the faction that does believe that this is a good movie that got way overrated to the point where people thought it was like, the golden ambrosia of the gods, but I digress. One thing that definitely deserves praise is the soundtrack, essentially. Just about every song is a bop, and well, let's just say there's one song in particular that's probably feeding the duo for years on end.
Just checking what other films came out the same day this one did.
Yeah, what was the competition?
Black Nativity.
Okay, I might have heard the name.
Homefront.
Not to be confused with the 2015 video game.
Yeah, with starring Jason Statham.
I was about to
say. And the 2013 Old Boy remake.
So, to be fair, that was adult only, so I get the idea why wouldn't be super fair of a competition, but still.
It really just seemed like it was the perfect storm. Like, in addition to this movie being good, the fantastic soundtrack, and it having basically no competition, not only did they set up the record for it to be good, but, well, with everyone going to see it, as you can imagine, stuff compounded from there.
It also, Old Boys, the remake sucked, so...
Mm-hmm.
Is that so?
Oh, you have no idea, Trevor.
So yeah, Elsa's, she's doing fine. Totally.
I love that the whole...
He's coping.
I love how the whole you learn to control your powers instead of, searching someone that could actually teach her how to use or anything was just, get in the closet, Elsa.
I don't know why Elsa's so sad. She's got a kingdom and her loving people, and she has Idina Menzel's voice.
Oh yeah, if I recall correctly, like I've mentioned, this is probably the movie that launched Idina Menzel into legendary status. Oh, don't get me wrong, she was already doing pretty well, especially since, she was Elphaba and flipping Wicked, but thanks to this movie, this pretty much made her A-list actor material.
Also, a few years, before this movie, she was in the first Enchanted movie.
Oh, ow.
Oh, get it? That was in her way.
Behold, hijinks. Alright, remind me again who they got to voice, for voicing Hans.
Let's see. Take it. He is voiced by Santino Fontana.
Okay, I don't think I heard that much about him. Let me check. Oh, he's from Italian descent.
They're having a
How
meet
about
cute.
that?
I'm gonna.
Disgusting.
Oh, I was in the 2013 Cinderella stage show, theater show.
Oh, he was
Nice.
also in Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit the following year.
I don't know what that
Never
is.
heard of that.
Okay, when you guys think of, I haven't seen the film myself, but when you think of Jack Ryan, what's the one director you think of?
I don't know what Jack Ryan is.
It's a spy series.
Okay, so
Kenneth Branagh, of course.
I mean, Kenneth Branagh was doing everything around this time. In 2015, he was doing his version of Cinderella, didn't he?
Didn't he do like several action films at some point that worked out well?
I'm not really sure. I don't think so.
Yeah, I checked. Okay, in the meantime, yeah, Santino Fontana's career seems to be mostly about theater. He has done movies and TV stuff, but this, out of those, this is his most known role. Which, I mean, it's kind of sad.
I mean, on the one hand, I get it. It's Frozen. Like, for a few reasons that we'll try to truly analyze, Frozen is just like that dog, essentially. Like, let me put it like this. It is the modern equivalent of Lion King. Lion
Oh
King
no,
was
I get
Disney's.
that, but specifically his role as Anna. So again, we're jumping the gun a bit, but we'll get there.
Now, I will say this. One thing I do appreciate about this movie in particular is that it really just showcased that Anna and Elsa had very flawed parents, and as you can imagine, that screwed both of them up in different ways, per se. We'll see more about Anna's problems as well, but as you can see, Elsa was definitely not taught the best coping mechanisms. Though I do find it hard to believe that nobody else has figured out her secret.
Like
After all this time.
the sequel to this movie will try to address some of the stuff that this one ignored. So
Yeah, okay, I'll admit. Well, I like Frozen. I'm not the biggest fan of Frozen 2.
That bit earlier just said, I was like, well, is that them trying to break the record for shortest dance on film?
Hi, we've been living in the same house for like 2 decades and are related. Have never seen you. Hi.
Oh, what? You saw me, like, at lunch 10 years ago. I was fine. This is what sisters talk about, right? Food. Hey, it's not
mean,
mentioned
well,
passes the
sorry,
Bechdel
Elsa.
test.
Alright, this. Yeah, this,
Yep.
What's
yeah.
Zebedee doing here?
this gag will have a circle back around in Zootopia Zootropolis.
Hello, Optimus Prime, the Joker, and so many other roles that Alan Tudyk has gone on to play.
Remind me, Jove, again, what year was that movie that we did this year's February 42?
I think that was also 2013.
So,
Let me just check.
for context, Shiri, Alan Tudyk
Oh,
in
yes,
that
it
movie,
was 2013.
For context, Shiri, Alan Tudyk in that movie has to play a racist baseball player that spouts the N-word multiple times in a row.
What? Why?
Because that
Okay.
was the real-life character that he had to portray for the context of the movie.
Yeah.
It's a biopic about the early
Okay.
days of accepting African Americans into baseball in the modern days.
I'll say this, Shure, as a black man, it gets my approval as them actually being, faithful to the times as opposed to someone clearly just wanting to say the N-word and get away with it.
Like it definitely reads differently. It definitely reads differently. Like the moment you mentioned it's a biopic, so
yeah, I probably should have given better context.
So yeah, Elsa's closed off, and Anna is kind of, literally hungry for affection, which you can imagine will play into some of her faults, as we're about to see as well. I don't like how Frozen 2 tried to suddenly whitewash their parents as, only being for the truest of intentions. I mean, yes, I can believe that they had good intentions, but Frozen 2 tries to recontextualize it as, her parents didn't actually mean for her to close it off, and they were actually truly on their way to help her.
Well, that's also the thing, Joba. This movie barely explains that. That's the reason why Frozen 2, handled that interpretation is because this early movie, is so vague that literally an interpretation could have been valid. Not in a sense of, multifaceted, but because it doesn't give you that kind of information, so you have to fill in the gaps.
Ironically, this is one of those times I'm actually okay with that, since it definitely painted, again, an unusual picture. Like, most times in Disney movies, the traditional ones you think of, the parents who died were at least seen as for the most part good.
I told you about the answer, not to start a musical number.
Don't worry, Tio, he's prepared to keep up with her. Yeah, no, like, again, to their credit, it is relatively subversive that the parents that die, that the characters look up to, aren't that great. Like, look at all previous ones. Sleeping Beauty, Lion King, even Snow White, as it's mentioned, her father was good. Here, the parents weren't the best. Until Frozen 2 comes in and undoes that, which, again, makes it ironic with people who really like to claim that, Frozen was the one that finally subverted a lot of Disney's tropes and told them to go off the record and do something different.
I guess it's only because Sword in the Stone doesn't bother to mention much, because I do wonder what kind of portrayal of Uther Pendragon would they had if he had shown up.
I do wonder.
For those who don't know the Arthurian cycle, Pendragon is an asshole.
Yeah, like, it's honestly kind of amazing that Arthur turned out okay. One could say his upbringing did help him turn out good, but Jesus
That depends
Christ.
on what kind of myth you're reading into. Sometimes it ends more heroically, sometimes more tragically.
Also, how the hell did you guys travel all the way up into the mountains away from the city like that?
Musical montage.
The power of singing compels them.
I want also
you already said something crazy. Wait, you've only met.
I want also for you to remember all of these imagery and talk about the heart that this movie is doing. Again, just keep that in the back of your brain. Tee.
And here comes that one scene everyone likes to quote. Well, brothers.
Well, to be fair, they did not have TV back then. They kind of needed to do something.
Guess so. Were the parents that bored?
I'm sure there were some books to read sometimes. Jesus.
Now...
No.
Well, damn. Huh. I mean, you just told your sister to leave like a gamer mod. Jesus. Oh. Hey, maybe we can just talk it out.
Or not.
Oops.
Ivan.
Oh, bummer.
Why is she in such a rush?
She's worried because she's not a Disney princess, she's a Disney queen.
All the responsibility in a flash. Hey, it's the Final Fantasy XIII logo.
Yes! You see, they were foreshadowing the Kingdom Hearts crossover all along.
Sorry, Joe, that would imply Kingdom Hearts 3 remembers to have Final Fantasy characters before people complain about them. Because, being clever is too, much effort.
Hey, it's not like Kingdom Hearts, was birthed on the idea of Final Fantasy meets Disney. Oh, wait, no, that's exactly what it was supposed to be.
Yes, Elsa, you're literally Ice Jesus. Also, small callback to one of the segments in the Nutcracker Suite from Fantasia, because the fairies did that kind of thing on while dancing on the water. That's kinda cute, I will give that.
Well, crap. All those that went on the boats are now stuck here.
Sorry. So does that mean also...
Well...
does that also mean Raps and Eugene are stuck in there?
What's this kingdom's name? Sorry.
Ariandel.
Arendelle.
It's supposed
Welcome to
be
Ariandel. Don't forget, you're here forever.
It's supposed to be an equivalent of Scandinavia or Denmark. I forgot which specific one. Possibly Denmark?
Okay,
Don't worry, guys. Agent 47 can sort this out. Oh, no, wait, wrong time.
Because Hans Christian Andersen was from Copenhagen, I think.
Awkward.
Old man yells at Cloud.
So yeah, given that, Raps and Eugene are trapped here, do you think this might have inspired potential political conflicts with Corona?
To be fair, again, this is post the movie and the series, so technically speaking, none of them have any powers that they can use to help. And considering all the shit that happened with Zantiri, they probably are just enjoying some hot chai.
I guess basically, oh wait, no, here we go.
Meanwhile, in the
Oh my
lonely mountain...
Oh, God, the song played all the bloody time.
Yes, the diamond tip of a fucking movie.
Shoot, if I even recall correctly, I think this movie still gets played a bit around Christmas time as well on some radio networks.
I mean, the release date and the snow imagery really makes it work at that. And why it doesn't happen everywhere all the time. In a lot of European countries, Disney movie purposefully gets released on the Christmas season, on a cynical way to maximize tickets in the seat, tickets in the seat, as in seat and everything, but also for the more cozy tradition.
No, I will say, like, I saw this in the cinema, and I know she's already sung before this, But it wasn't until here that I realized who Elsa's VA was, and I remember trying not to freak the fuck out because I love this woman so much.
Had you seen
Idina
Wicked before this?
specifically.
I'm guessing
Like
you knew her from Wicked.
it was bothering the shit out of me that I knew her voice, and then she sings this song, and I'm like, "Yep, this is the best day of my life."
So this is where it came from.
Okay. So, Shuri, I'm guessing you had first heard of Idina Menzel thanks to Wicked, correct?
Yes, I saw I saw that show quite young.
Oh, wait, you actually saw the one with herself in it, too?
No, I don't think so, but obviously we had the soundtrack the entire time.
Of course.
I don't remember
But
who
yeah.
was actually performing during the London showing.
But yeah, let's not beat around the bush. Whether you hate or love this song, you cannot deny it deserved all the success it got, essentially. It's a fantastically put together song. And like I said with Mariah Carey having All I Want for Christmas Is You basically keeping her financially secured all on its own, this song alone probably is going to maintain the financial security of the songwriters for this movie.
Well,
But
Elsa, think of it like this: if being a queen doesn't work out, you'd be a great ice architect.
so, how influential is this song? Well, believe it or not, this song apparently is what got them to change their minds on Elsa being a villain, believe it or not. See, originally, the idea was to have it be, more like the Snow Queen, apparently. I definitely remember the trailers that made Elsa out to be more of a
And
villain,
there it is.
and there are even deleted scenes, and oh yes, the ever-iconic costume. I will give it also credit, the way that the Broadway show makes her transformation from dress to this is pretty amazing. That's one thing I'll give Disney Broadway shows. They go above and beyond to replicate the magical sequences from the movies
Hold on, Trevor.
into...
Wow. I don't know what happened, but just wow.
You didn't have to close the door on us.
Really watching the song?
I'll mention more about that later anyway. But, okay, at this point of the movie, I was like, okay, you guys pet run a bit, but you wanted to create an origin story for the Snow Queen. Fair, I'm following you so far. So what are you going to do next? Because, it's still
Oh,
an
boy.
hour of the movie left.
Snow hijinks. Also, Anna, did you not have warmer clothes you could have used before going in there? And before anyone says, oh, maybe the kingdom doesn't have warmer clothes, no. In later scenes, we'll see people with coats and everything.
She was too much in a hurry.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Let It Go was apparently so big that they recontextualized the movie around that song. Yes, I'm not kidding. They restructured the movie to fit around a song. Apparently, even back then, they knew that Let It Go was going to be big. Although, apparently, they still didn't know how big it was going to be because, technically, Let It Go doesn't really get any reprisals in this movie. No. The Broadway show is the one that actually makes Let It Go more the central theme. If anything, the central theme in this movie is more, do you want to build a snowman, essentially,
Well, I mean, Let
since
It Go
that's the
became.
one.
Sorry. I mean, Let It Go became the big breakout song of the movie, and I'm pretty sure the stage show came out long after the movie.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's like, dude, you were already restructuring the movie around the song. Why not have made Let It Go the central theme from the get-go? Specifically, they thought Let It Go wouldn't really have worked if, Elsa was too much of a villain. So they recontextualized it to make it more that, shall we say, Elsa is a victim of circumstance as opposed to a villain.
The original plan for her to be a villain, maybe.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. She was originally supposed to be a villain. You can even tell from some of the older trailers, and there's definitely deleted scenes of her as a villain.
Mm-hmm.
What would you have preferred, Shuri? I'm actually curious.
I think it might have been interesting Like, there's definitely potential for it. And I think considering the story that they did go with, it wouldn't have been too far removed.
So, who voices Kristoff?
He is voiced by Jonathan Groff.
Jonathan Groff, the future Agent Smith in The Matrix.
Huh. He also started off in Broadway, go figure, in the musical In My Life in 2005. Also, this guy is a nice breakout character. He's hilarious in the Broadway musical. He's one of those characters that gives those fourth wall gags based off of whatever town or city the show is playing in.
I like it when they do that. Yeah, exactly.
And stay out.
Also, I looked it up, and while I can't, obviously say for sure because I was a child, considering the time frame that Wicked first came here, it likely would have been Adina that I saw, if not understudies. So.
Oh, wow. So you saw it pretty much in the earlier eras of it. That's nice. Honestly, that's lucky. I do wish that, at the very least, Broadway musicals would distribute recordings of the original casts, at least. Like, because
I know
it's
Cats
truly
did.
iconic.
Yeah, I was about to say the original version of Cats actually did, but only because it was that fucking famous.
Well, they put Hamilton on Disney Plus, but I've said it before during other commentaries, but Broadway is sitting on a gold mine. Like, people would love to buy DVDs or Blu-ray for the performances. That's big money, but no, people want to gatekeep so bad.
It also
And
didn't
it's
help that they, specific theater companies and the streaming services picked and choose what to do. Like, for example, when Netflix tried with Diana the musical, because that's a great idea.
I think the thing that frustrates me the most is, okay, let's say for the sake of argument they don't want to risk cannibalizing sales from a current running show. That excuse goes out the window when some of these shows end their runs and they still don't put them to home media in some shape or form.
Wicked is still playing to this day.
And that, well, okay, to be fair, that got a movie. But even still, sometimes people want to see the original Broadway productions and not the movie adaptations for one reason or another. Speaking as a Wiz fan. I mean, granted, we did later get a recording of the Wiz Live, which is a better version of the show, but even still, what I wouldn't have given to have seen the original cast on that stage. And that was technically outside my lifetime. Oh boy, a man and a woman at odds. I'm sure they're not going to be the actual couple of this romance.
They're already married.
It's like you turn your head and bam, already.
Yeah, again, going back to one thing that, again, is not this movie's fault, but one thing that annoys me about how people, at least at the time, tried to treat this like it was the holy bread of subversion. I mean, yes, it does call out the whole, you can't marry someone you just met a few hours ago, but it's not like it subverts all the cliches, like, again, Kristoff and Anna are at odds, essentially. And, again, on the off chance you haven't seen this movie, I'll let you guess how things end up, but I get the feeling if you've seen your fair share of movies, you might have an idea. And yes, the movie, basically, Kristoff is used as that voice of subversion, basically questioning, hey, you barely know this guy, and anything about him, essentially.
This was 2013, so we were fully cementing into the whole lampshading trope is the in thing to do. Even besides the subversion, these were the years where the whole quipping was reaching its apex, where the whole it's behind me, isn't it? Was viewed still in less ironic of a way.
I mean, Shark Tale did it as well, and that was in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Shark Tale was kind of the odd man out, though, ironically. Okay. One could say that this was something set in motion a bit by the Shrek movie, sure, but the thing that made Shrek such a big pop culture icon was that Shrek was relatively unique. And wouldn't you know, by the time everyone and their mothers tried to start doing it with stuff like Happily Never After in the later 2000s,
Also, in general,
people didn't care for it as
Jesus.
much because it wasn't done as well.
Also, in general,
Dang.
as a whole, as Deji and I basically asserted as the time went on, it's all about it really is just about the damage that Joss Whedon caused in the industry. It really can be just be boiled down
Yeah,
to him.
I will say this, yes, the MCU was definitely hitting its stride around this time, and as you recall from our commentary of Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and whatnot, that, yeah, the banter was on and off. Again, to give the MCU credit, it was running along steadily or whatnot, but let's just say the bridge
Of
was
course,
kind
it
of starting to
explodes.
break. Uh-oh. Well, off to a good start of the journey, aren't we?
Clearly.
Also, where the hell were the wolves when Elsa was walking by?
The same reason why they didn't attack Gaston's group towards their march to the Beast Castle.
Of course.
I mean, you can make the argument they were big in numbers and they had torches. I'm not that much of a monster when it comes to filling in the gaps.
Fun fact, originally Gaston was supposed to survive that fall and then get eaten alive by the wolves at the end of Beauty and the Beast.
So they recycled instead that for scarring Lion King. Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Bro, you got something wrong with your reindeer.
Hey, that's the title of the movie!
Roll credits.
Of course. Pretty visuals.
Again, like I said, particularly for the environment, despite being 2013, the animation had aged much better than it did, for example, for Tangled. It's just the human faces are a bit wonky sometimes.
Okay, so like I've said before, I truly believe that this movie was basically the start of the era where Disney pretty much were on top of the mountain. I know a lot of people do think that some
here
people
we
harp on
go.
Disney a little too much. Hey, it's everyone's favorite character in the movie.
You look weird without a nose.
Okay, I forget if Joss Gad was big before this movie, but if he wasn't, oh boy, this movie skyrocketed him to fame.
Dweebs, I think you know it better. Was Pixels 2015?
I think so.
Okay, so it was 2 years after this. Remember, Josh Gad plays the character who scores with,
Hubert.
with Qbert. And they
Jesus
produce
Christ.
Hellspawns.
Oh, fun fact also, Jonathan Groff was a recurring guest star as Jesse St. James in Glee. Okay, I don't hate Joss Gad. I think he's a good actor. But I do think he's a bit like Jack Black in that he gets a little pigeonholed into, well, you know, that type of role, the goofy comic sidekick relief, who pretty much walks the tightrope line between annoying and adorable, essentially. I will say this. I am overall fine with Olaf, essentially. I will say this, though. He's not beating Timon or Pumbaa as far as comic relief goes in Disney animation for me, though.
What the fuck are you doing?
I mean, it's better than the
he's
comic
okay.
relief. I mean, in terms of Disney comic relief, I can name worse films. I'm on the right page.
I'll admit, I legit thought you were going to say Gurgi, but I guess Gurgi would be too easy.
Who's Gurgi again?
Black Cauldron. Don't worry, I will mention that movie again later.
I barely remember that movie.
So Olaf's dream is, of course, to enjoy the nice life of summer.
You were literally born a few minutes ago. You don't even have these basic concepts.
Okay, so do whatever snow does in summer, so die then? Okay.
This is basically a more modern take on the whole pop cultural musical number that, the Gene Aladdin had.
I do like what we get at the end of this song, though.
Oh yes, that wonderful meme. Yes, as you can imagine, this movie has spawned quite a lot of favorable memes.
Well, its popularity was kind of bound to happen, so...
Yeah. Like I said, I do like the soundtrack, love it even. I will say, out of all the songs, this is kind of the one that's the most there for me. Not even bad, it's just...
It's clearly meant to entertain the younger kids in the audience, simple as that.
Yeah.
He completely forgot the rhyme. But we don't want to watch you die.
What are you talking about?
Wait,
die?
Here we go. Let it not
Great
be
line.
said that there are still some wonderful lines in this movie. But yeah, thankfully, because Elsa created him, Olaf's able to tell where she is and lead the way, apparently. And yeah, somebody really does have to tell him.
I don't know,
he
it's
has to
funnier
grow
that
up.
way.
Tio, he has to grow up and eventually face his death like a man.
Oh, so that's actually what happened in 2020 with toilet paper.
Oh, God.
I still can't believe we actually legit had a toilet paper mafia. Reality really went crazy after Harambe died.
Clearly. So it's treason then.
Yeah, it's treason then.
Thankfully, just like in Beauty and the Beast, the horse is here to return and let the other guys know that, yeah, there's trouble afoot. What a weasel. The wonders of a G rating. Actually, what was this rated?
Honestly, I'm more reminded of Gmod with the whole clipping into things.
It's like more recently with Predator Badlands, where there's a lot of gore in the movie, but because none of them are against the humans, it's PG-13.
Okay,
I know it's not recent, but I've been getting so many Oblivion clips.
Oh, goodness.
The fact that it's
so
kind of a
movie...
masterwork in spaghetti coding that just decides to do whatever.
Okay, so this movie was actually rated PG, which is somewhat surprising.
What was Tangled rated? I'm curious.
Oh.
I think that was also PG. Let me check.
Because that had blood in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, PG.
And a character
Okay.
actually dying on screen. Yes, temporarily, but you get what I mean.
Sure.
Well, it was nice of Elsa to provide a staircase.
So, wait, who voices Anna again? I don't think we mentioned that yet.
Kristen Bell, I believe.
Kristen Bell, yeah, she was in there was that detective show. Well, what was it called?
Oh, she was in both of the Bad Moms movies along with Agatha.
She's
Catherine.
of descent of Irish and Polish descent, so... Oh, she was in the English dub of The Cat Returns. I mean, to be fair, there could have been worse, but that dub still has some weird decisions, admittedly.
I'll call correctly. She was also the singing voice for Marge in that one Simpsons.
Oh, Veronica
voice,
Mars. There you go.
She was in. Oh, she was in the 2009 Astro Boy. We did. Scream 4. Oh god, she was the same year of this movie. She was in movie 43 as Supergirl in the DC Comics theme segment. I forgot about
right.
that. That movie has a
You gotta
lot
remember.
of. That movie has a lot of celebrities wasted in terrible roles.
The reasons like originally movie 43 was shaping up to be an interesting project. If I'll correct with you, they got like 2 big actors, and then after that, the actors then, phoned up their friends, and suddenly movie 43 was like, hey, y'all want to be in this? Unfortunately, as time went by, it was too late for most who realized it was a stinker to get out of their contract.
What I still question will be James Gunn, because he directed one of the worst segments, and he claims in post-production that he not knew what he was doing, what he was directing. Not in the sense of, my mind was in a different place back then, but more like I did not knew what I was actually working with. But I question that because the plot of that is still relatively simple, and he was heavily involved with the direction of that. But again, we're not here for that. I will just mention instead that apparently Kristen Bell is going to play Miss Claus in Violent Night 2 next year.
Huh.
So I guess we'll have to see her eventually.
So, in a way, we can now link this to Violent Night.
Clearly.
Since Santa is a Viking, so maybe at some point Vikings ravage Scandinavia and Arendelle at some point.
Dear God, I can create life.
Yes, congratulations, Elsa. You are now a god. Hey, Elsa, few things. One, if you didn't want anyone to come, why did you leave the staircase leading up to your palace? And two, maybe now might be a good time to tell...
herself kept a bridge to her fortress, so...
To be fair, Maleficent was the kind who was like, I dare her. I dare anyone to even so much as try.
Minions, admittedly.
Yeah, that too.
Well, okay, not saying much of a funny story, but interesting parallel, or life imitates art. Much like Elsa had to use gloves to contain quote unquote her power, Kristen Bell did mention in an interview with Jimmy Kimmel in 2018 that whenever she goes swimming she wears scuba gloves because she actually feels the sensation of touching things with water in her wrinkled fingers, as in prune fingers. So the gloves allow her to swim with her children without fear of touching them.
Wow. How uncanny.
It happens.
Yes, she kind of brought about an endless winter.
Yeah, it's mentioned here, I did not know that much about it. It seems that Kristen Bell is being very open about discussing, mental state, including hers, because she was diagnosed with depression and anxiety.
I appreciate the singing talent on display here, but if you keep singing, by the time you get back to Arendelle, everyone will already be dead.
No, it's okay. We'll heal them with the power of song.
How can they if they're dead?
To be fair,
Dweebs,
Dweebs,
it's Disney.
remember what Mr. Freeze told? You have 11 minutes to thwart someone from high, so...
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Disney, a film company well known for resurrecting characters after they died.
I mean, yes, it actually has happened a few times. Beauty and the Beast, for starters, essentially. Like, we've had a few cases where
I mean,
characters were more or less...
Tangled. We literally just did Tangled.
I mean, I was on more
That
about
too.
films like The Lion King.
Well, Mufasa came back in spirit, but, I mean, to be fair, Lion King at that point didn't have blatant magic, until Lion Guard, which did add magic to the mythos. So, yeah.
Yeah, hey, you've been asking all these years if you wanted to build a snowman, and there you go.
Oh, good aim at least.
Uh,
Another thing I do recall was one of the earlier teaser trailers was actually this sequence, except at that point, it has the ending bout where Anna goes, "That's no blizzard, that's my sister," and then we see Elsa casting her magic up top because, again, back when she was supposed to be more so the villain.
So Elsa, I want to please go away. I want to not hurt you. And then someone tells her, Elsa died. Sorry, Anna died because she was running away from that giant snowman you set on her, and she fell to her death.
Yeah, again, Elsa doesn't think things out the best, let's just say.
Oh crap! He didn't realize I was in Beowulf.
Yeah, the 2007 movie. I forgot
2007.
which specific role she
Well,
had.
she did a song at the end called "A Hero Comes Home."
Okay, then.
Huh.
I think it was
Did
actually
she have
based
a role
on...
too?
No, again, I think it was just a song similar to how Billy Boyd made a song for the credits of The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies, even though Pippin wasn't in the movie.
Man. Beowulf. What a weird movie that was.
I'll need to check it again, mostly because when we did the original commentary, I was so rusty about the actual myth of Beowulf, so I'm still
So
I'm,
potential
I'm,
generations.
I'm still
That was the
gonna,
last film she was involved in for 6 years before this one.
I'm also gonna try to check if hi. Yeah, it's the house from Amityville. Get out! I'll need to check if the license game is actually still doable. One problem that a lot of license games done around the time had is that they were stupidly difficult. Not even in a sense of saying that they were, just hard, but they were so badly programmed that, they were not even particularly fun to play. But again, we'll see.
So, yeah, that was a bust, but hey, I wonder what will be the conflict now.
Actually, I forgot. I might as well, check now. Like, yes, I will save the talk about Kingdom Hearts 4 after the movie's over. But did this movie had a tie in a video game at the time the movie was made? I know that later on it got a fuck ton of them, of course, but I'm talking about towards the release of the movie.
Okay, it got specials, but as for video games, oh wait, hold on.
There was an
was
Olaf
Frozen.
on the DS. I remember that, but it was later, I think.
Yeah, it was actually November 19th, 2013, same year for the
Okay,
Nintendo
then.
DS and Nintendo 3DS, essentially, where basically you play as Olaf. Of course, Anna and Elsa made it to Disney Infinity,
Obviously.
also in November 26th of the same year. And then their figures were released separately on March 11th, 2014. Let's see. They made it into Disney mobile stuff, but
Yeah, so they were
yeah,
in
it seems that
both Elsa and Anna were also in Mirrorverse, also Olaf eventually. Their designs were
if I
pretty much the same as in this movie.
I'll give them credit with Mirrorverse. Oh yeah, true. That was the
R.I.P.
case with Mirrorverse. Yeah, Mirrorverse did have some pretty sweet designs, honestly. If I recall correctly, done by Todd McFarlane, so makes sense. The dude knew how to design to get people
Sometimes
to
they
spend,
try to
spend,
be
and
more
spend.
original, sometimes they just copy pasted in case it was already edgy enough, like with Zurg, where they used the same design from the Lightyear movie. Again, regardless of what you think of a movie, the design itself, proved to be more similar to the ones from Mirrorverse.
I mean, I'm not too
Elsa's still
surprised.
feeling
Like a
so
lot of
normal.
beautiful. I mean, I'm not too surprised they did that since, Disney typically will have characters match renditions of the newer ones. Like in Disney Infinity, for Maleficent, we had the one based off more of Angelina Jolie's design than the original green-skinned one, essentially. By the time of Mirrorverse, they were back to using the more green-skinned and villainous Maleficent. Fun fact, actually, there's an event in Mirrorverse where Maleficent finally actually does get to go to a party, and then she remembers why she doesn't often go to them. So that implies that Maleficent was never going to come to Aurora's party. She just hated the fact that she wasn't invited.
Okay, I think it's also time
Hey.
for me to mention, I know that it's intentionally comedically exaggerated to take advantage of the body and everything, but I had to connect it to what we were saying before about paralleling these to Jack Black's role in recent times. Just like with Bowser, way more times than I actually remembered, Olaf's face veers into the uncanny valley to me.
I guess Olaf at least has the excuse that, he's made of something malleable
Yeah, like
snow.
I said, we're trying to take advantage of the body type and everything, so...
Oh yeah, by the way, that troll wasn't kidding when she said she was going to adopt Olaf and Sven. Yeah, these are basically his parents.
Lovely. Lovely.
Hey
Too.
guys, isn't that princess from years ago who had to be treated with head trauma and brainwashing? Wait, I got what?
Yeah, this is one of the first times I've ever heard someone say it's trolls in a happy way.
Well, you have to remember.
Yeah.
Okay, it's complicated. In Nordic folklore, troll is more of a generic term that used to describe basically cryptids of some kind. Think of the Japanese term of yokai to describe demons of different powers, sizes, and abilities. It's just that for oversimplifying, you combine. Oh god, we also have a musical number. In order to simplify things, and also with the different historical context, like the different cultures that ultimately formed the UK, the Anglo-Saxons and all, the term eventually was mostly contained to, the image of the troll that you think there today. Not necessarily the same in size, but creature that resembles an element like stone, mud, or fleshy water, kinda like, not necessarily elemental. Possesses regenerative ability. If you want to kill them, go with fire. That usually works.
It's not right for you to fall in love with Hans, who you just met for a few hours, but here's a song about how Kristoff, who you just met for like a day, is absolutely right for you.
Double standards for the win.
Like, I get it, it's technically not, explicitly said, but let's be honest, the movie definitely treats Kristoff as more the one for her than Hans.
Okay, I think... Again, it's something that I will try to mention later with one of my theories about what one of the early drafts that this movie possibly had. But I do want. This seems to be a remnant of that, at least from what I can think of. That the movie wants to have clearly a statement about difference in social classes and how the higher class might seem more nice at the beginning, but get later is revealed to be more hostile towards people with good intentions, while instead more the commoners, as usual, are the more rough, but instead actually have the heart in the right place. And I mean a remnant of that because we have to also deal with the fact that Elsa and Anna are purest nobility, but they're despite their in things that happen to her, they still are considered good-hearted at the end of the day.
I just want to point out that one lyric about they said, get the fiance out of the way. They're just casually suggesting that he murder Hans so that he can have Anna for himself. I get it, this song's meant to be comedic, but as far as we know, they're not joking.
I mean, to be fair, if there's something that people did mention over the years after this movie came out that everyone can agree for is that while not, I would not go as far as to say that, as many people said, that the trolls are the true villains of the entire movie, but they certainly are not nice nor as wise as they claim to be.
Wait, strange magic? No, not that.
That's 2 years from now, and to be fair, okay, yes, this was 1 year after the Lucasfilm buyout. For those who don't know, Strange Magic was a movie that Lucasfilm had in the works for a very long time and did not know what to do. So when the Disney buyout happened, they were like, let's put it to release as soon as we can. And that happened ultimately in 2015, I think.
I forget, was Strange Magic part of Lucas's plan, or was that somebody else just under the Lucasfilm name?
I think so, that it was still one of his projects that took way too long to be made.
That movie has a ton of problems. Like, I can't deny, I do get the feeling George was trying, but man, either something went wrong or he was just not up to the test, because Strange Magic is, it's an experience. Yes, let's go with that. So yeah, the idea is to get Anna back essentially to Arendelle to, I guess, get a kiss from Hans, because he's her true love.
Clearly.
Okay, again, won't spoil the twist, but I will say this though. Boy, isn't it kind of weird that with the idea that Hans is her true love, that we just had a song and dance number about how they totally would see her better with Kristoff? Ow.
Brilliant.
Huh. It was actually pretty easy to get past your guard there, Elsa.
You could make another guard.
Actually, yeah, why doesn't she?
It's potentially kind of contrivances. It feels like I get the idea that maybe in one early draft, Elsa was also supposed to create like an army of minions back when she was supposed to still be the villain.
Oh yes. Oh yes. There's literally a deleted scene with that very concept in mind.
Even though, again, in the original story, her minions were the trolls, so it would have made more sense for her to brainwash them or something.
God, I forget what was the name of that snow monster, because if I recall correctly, they gave it
Mr. Ice or something. I
official
forgot.
name.
I will check it later. The proud
Marshmallow.
There you go. The proud elite guard of Wesselton, everyone. They're good with a crossbow.
Barely.
Boy, she pushes that icicle down, she'll bump this up a rating.
And of course, no, it's not what it looks like. Misunderstandings for the win.
Yeah, if you're careful, you could end up committing murder.
To Hans's credit, he does
Get
say,
down,
no,
Mr.
don't be the
President."
monster they think you are.
Okay, and so, well, hey, we're in Denmark. He pulled off a kill that Hitman Agent 47 would have been proud of.
Okay, I'm gonna guess the time's a little skewed and whatnot because these guys hiked up to Elsa's mountain and apparently got back to Arendelle before Kristoff and Anna. Somehow.
Yeah, how did you get here before us?
Scenic route.
How did we?
Travel by
got
map.
me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Thank you, Kronk. Also, there are tons of ways she could easily get out of those chains. Like,
Don't think
when it
about
comes
it.
to it,
Freeze the
Elsa is
chains,
relative.
can't you?
Also, with all due respect, maybe we are at a better idea with you here. Let me go!
No.
Let me go!
It's literally we will let you know when you get in job interviews.
Yeah. Let me know. Let me know. Oh, okay, so she is doing that.
She's turning
I've
into
seen it
Reed
a few
Richards.
times.
Okay.
It's been a bit though.
So, fun fact actually, how it should have ended actually pretty much showcased how we could have fixed this from the start. Just have Elsa and Anna go see Professor Xavier.
Clearly.
It was one of their more cheekier episodes, obviously, but yeah.
Funk Monkey's Paw Java, you get the CGI Patrick Stewart from the end of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Why would they do this?
I mean, it's a CGI animated movie, so...
Maybe he'll look natural in this more.
Honestly, I also say that is something that I did not felt particularly that much from that scene until I was pointed out that... Like, X-Men Origins Wolverine has way more things that piss me off, but I did not even notice that... Then again, like I said, I never had too much of an eye for bad CGI for that.
I love that. Thank you for rescuing the princess. Now get the hell out.
He needs to sleep.
Actually, now that's a good question. Like, these are all representatives of Kingdoms invited. Why isn't Eugene and Raps here? Why aren't Eugene and Raps here?
Maybe they figured, not our problem for once.
Okay. Now I know.
They've had to do.
Now I know the real thing that happened. They slept through all of this. That would be hilarious.
Okay, I don't know how long it's implied for this to have gone on, but that would be amazing if they somehow slept through it on.
Oh, right now.
Yes. True love's kiss can save the day. ZOMG!
Holy shit!
The plot twist that totally wasn't telegraphed. So, as you recall, during the intro, there were a few tropes I'd mentioned that this movie convinced Disney to run into the ground, essentially. But there was one I kept from mentioning, and that is the twist villain. Now, this is not to say that this is the first time Disney ever did a twist villain. No. We had stuff like Atlantis, Monsters Incorporated, and whatnot. No, but after this movie, Disney started doing twist villains up the wazoo. So much so to the point where it was actually a twist that Yaz in Wreck-It Ralph 2 wasn't a twist villain, since he seemed to have all the makings of it.
Also, not to mention the fact that for some reason they wanted to associate that with pretty much a lack of physicality.
I already have. No, you haven't! All it takes is somebody to hear her knocking on the door and tell her, Hans
Okay, to be
left me
fair,
to die,
she's too
basically.
weak, I guess. So that's what they're doing with. But again, for someone who had still little screen time and everything, the Horn King runs miles onto this guy's ass.
Yeah, no, I hate to say it. Hans is the weakest link of this movie. I'm sorry, I don't find him a good villain. In fact, he's a good example of why the twist villain thing was something people got tired of with Disney. Part of the problem is that as a twist villain, he doesn't get to do much until his reveal of being evil, and his reveal of being a villain is so late into the film that he does not leave that much of an impression as a villain, essentially, which is
There's really not much shadow
you know,
foreshadowing or anything.
Apparently, Love is an Open Door is very off musically. And supposedly that's where a lot of the foreshadowing is.
I can
Like the
kind of
harmonies
get it.
aren't right, like the way they interact with each other is just off. This is something I've heard like throughout the years since this movie came out, and I was wondering about your opinion on it.
I'll admit, now that you mention it, it's definitely something I notice more. But yeah, one could consider the harmonies as being a bit off. I would say it's a nice enough subtle hint. I don't think it's enough
there
on
needed
its
to
own,
be
though,
more.
per se. Yeah, like, okay, here's the problem with Hans, essentially. He is like your typical mystery plot. The first time you watch it is obviously going to be the first time you're the most shocked and taken with it. The problem is, on rewatches, essentially, you do have to wonder, was there much truly leading up to this? And I get it. Not every mystery is something that the audience can potentially solve, but it still needs to be something that's relatively nice and impeccable. Hans really, really was just a ooh, gotcha moment, because I swear, all the advertisement was about how oh so nice a guy he was that I'll be quite honest, I actually managed to see this movie without getting spoiled about the twist here. I was relatively calling it just off of the fact that he's like way too good, pure good. That being said, I don't consider that in and of itself a good plot twist developed by the story's writing. That's just me being familiar with writing tropes, essentially. Oh, and look at that! If it's just so easy that Olaf can stumble onto her, how is nobody else?
I also beg to disagree slightly on the whole twist villain automatically also equals weaker in a sense because we don't have enough time for foreshadowing for something. If they bother to introduce having Hans having particular getting some real Pinocchio vibes from this. If they bother to introduce Hans being particularly good with the sword and having showcasing more, doing more stuff to it instead of that just the one fight that he has the brief skirmish against Marshmallow, probably that would have helped in this case. You take someone like Gaston, which yes, from the get-go you knew that he was a jerk, so it wasn't that much of a twist anyway. But because of literally everything in the movie that constantly hammers you how much basically he's a skilled hunter and everything, you have no basic problems understanding the kind of physicality that he has. And when it comes instead to magical characters like Dr. Facilier or Maleficent, that is taken care of very soon anyway. But Hans, he's good with a sword, I guess.
Yeah, like, again, that's the thing. Okay, maybe Hans isn't the deepest character. Admittedly, one could argue some of the Disney Renaissance villains weren't the deepest characters, but gosh darn it, they could still be absolute threats or give us some of the best climactic fights ever. Hans, not so much in this movie, essentially. So, he can't really fight. He's not that great a character. all Hans really had going for him was the twist, essentially.
Yeah,
that
to quote
this
the
nice
first
guy
one
is really
princess, what
a
else is
bad
there?
guy.
He does
And
nothing
you know
for
the
like an hour.
Hey, you know the funny thing is, like, after this movie came out, suddenly everything that featured him, like shorts, mobile games, Disney Magic Kingdoms, suddenly then they played up what a big jerk he was, because I guess that's all they really had, essentially.
Like, now, to be fair, for the context of the story, that is on point because he was just putting up a facade, a mask, in order to getting the graces of the royalty of Arundel, because of the
He was
combined
trying to
marriage and
stage a
all.
takeover, really.
Yeah, so I get the
That
idea
I will
that
say this,
for side spin-off materials and everything, having to not deal with that because the audience knows already about that kind of stuff, or either that, or he has no real motivations to do that to keep up the facade anymore. That makes sense, I argue.
yeah, that's fair enough, essentially. I do think, though, the problem is, okay, Once Upon a Time did try to expand on it. Oh, because, yes, as you can imagine, when this thing was big, it got into everything, essentially. While this was around the time Disney were kind of walking away from video game adaptations, at least full-fledged console ones, so it didn't get a proper console title, it wasn't just about everything, essentially. So much so that half of Once Upon a Time's fourth season was dedicated to Frozen. And not even like, just an adaptation of Frozen, like, no. It was legit basically a sequel to Frozen, essentially. But, hey, guess what, Tio? They made it so that Elsa's aunt is the actual Snow Queen, so they kind of did pay homage to the
gumdrops.
original story in that regard. Basically, all you need to know is that Frozen wormed its way into everything, for better or for worse. Like I've said, I get wanting to build off of a success, although apparently it's so much of a success that, as of the time of this recording, actually, yeah, Kristen Bell, Idina Menzel, and Joss Gad have all signed deals to earn over $6 million each, including upfront
like
fees
60
and back
million.
end bonus. Yes, 60 million, which includes upfront fees and back-end bonus payments to return for Frozen 3 and Frozen 4, which is one of the most gigantic deals in anything. Disney are just that confident in Frozen, and again, like, originally Elsa and Anna were supposed to join the Disney Princess lineup, as you can tell since they show up with the Disney Princesses in Wreck-It Ralph 2, but nah, they're technically not Disney princesses because Frozen became its own bloody franchise, essentially. Like, there was a point where Disney adults were saying, the age of Disney princesses is back. Disney don't need that smelly old MCU anymore. The Disney princesses are here to remind you what Disney is all about.
It
As
wasn't
if Disney
helpful
was even
for.
going to throw away the MCU.
Well, to be fair, Jova, it was the beginning of Phase 2, and people were having some doubts because we had stuff like Iron Man 3 and for the Dark World at this point. So the timing potentially
True, yeah.
could have worked in their favor.
Hey, maybe Kristoff can kiss Anna to save her.
I remember when, like, within the first year or two when this movie came out, they were playing it on the big TV in the center of town.
What, this scene?
No, the entire movie. Just the movie. They had, like, an outdoor watch party.
Thank goodness she was solid enough ice to break the sword and not have herself get shattered.
Okay, I know it was supposed to be a dramatic
and-
Pretty
moment.
shit sword.
I know about it was a dramatic moment, but that last exhale from the Anna statue had a more comedic timing than anything. Just
Which is funny. A lot of people compare this to that scene from the SpongeBob movie, and they say, Squidward looks more horrified about his paychecks being lost than Elsa looks about her sister being frozen when they compared those scenes back to back. Sad.
Be sad.
It's so sad that the movie's frozen.
TM.
But wait, here we
That's why they call it Frozen.
And this scene. Now, I will say this. In the context of this movie, this is very cool, very clever, and very thought-provoking. The true love, not of just romance, but of that of sisters. Boy, what I do not like is that not just Disney, but the industry as a whole thought this meant, guys, we don't need classic fairy tales anymore. It's time to talk about how fairy tales are dumb for relying on love, essentially. Or, love in the traditional sense. Again, not to say everything did that, but... As I said during our third commentary, Maleficent, you cannot convince me that they did not, at some point in development, change course to suddenly make it be about, oh, it's Maleficent's love instead of the prince's love that saves Aurora because Frozen made all the money in the world, basically. Like, I'm sorry, the timing, even if they had to do it for the last minute, no, the timing was too on point.
Also, at the cost of being super cynical, can I just say that this doesn't feel particularly earned by the way storytelling has been made. And I don't mean all of melting. I mean the proper understanding about Elsa and Anna rekindling their sisterly bond. Because yes, we had that montage at the beginning where Anna did not give up and anything. But throughout the movie, I argue we really haven't showcased that much in terms of, how much of a bond these two have. Oh yeah, and by the way, that's what happens to Hans. He doesn't even die.
I guess, to be fair...
No, I'm sorry, Jova. I also have a problem with this because making a villain for a story has kind of a complete circle to things. You have the villainy, and to top it off, you have the death. Yes, if you don't want to have the hero staining their hands, that's where the karmic death comes from. Kind of like what happened with Karen Lion King. But here, instead, no, generic imprisonment, and that's it. It's like a fucking Silver Age story.
They do follow it up with Once Upon a Time as a sequel. I forget if I think he may have actually died in that.
Like, it's just an extra exacerbation of the lame factor, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
that's a fair point.
He's getting more of a karmic punishment. He's going to be shipped off back to his home country where his brothers can do God knows what.
Okay. I'm gonna have to agree with Tio. It's like when in Arthur, the parents say, "Oh, we'll punish DW," but we never actually get to see it happen. Oh, wow! Ice Master! That is probably a meaningless royal title, so good job, Anna. You're already getting politics. Just kiss already.
That's what the Wii 3 would have been called if the Wii U was a success.
And on the note of people who try to act like this was the movie to be subversive, I just want to point out, Enchanted was technically a thing before this. And even if we're not going to count Enchanted because that was technically not part of the Disney animated canon, several Disney Renaissance movies were about couples who didn't simply fall in love on the first day. Hell, you want to talk subversion? Beauty and the Beast was arguably subversive, with how you had what would originally be the classic hero be the villain and the monster be...
If you want to take in consideration, for granted, Maleficent's words, in the original Sleeping Beauty, she ends up being completely correct because her entire speech that she gives to the prince is that she will only let him out when he's decrepit and old, and the true love's kiss will be more than a farce. So that's instead the urgency of why, he has to break out immediately. So she was correct in that regard.
People like to talk about these two movies, like usually in the same sentence, and I'm going to do it now. Hell, even Tangled did some subversion of that because they didn't start falling for each other until like halfway, 2/3 through the movie.
That was definitely one of the sad things about Frozen. Tangled got overlooked, and that thing had just come out like 2 years prior.
And I still argue it's a far better movie than this. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
No, I agree.
Just to mention, I can believe easily after watching it again for this that this was not a project that Disney was banking that much upon in general, because if you paid attention, a lot of the plot elements of the story are rushed, to say the least. Like, we really have to hurry to get to the finish line in a lot of places. So, just to mention briefly before we start our final thoughts, the big question for those who don't know. What happened for Kingdom Hearts after all? This became super famous right at the, as the franchise was going. Around this time, Birth by Sleep had been released. So clearly, people were wondering it was a matter of a when question rather than if. But this franchise kept Kingdom Hearts 3D, and people speculated correctly because they were going to save it as a big thing for a main, numbered title. With Kingdom Hearts, you have to treat each title as important, but you get what I mean. Still one of the main numbered. So it happened with Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'm sad to say it's possibly the worst word that is in the entire game, because I shit you not, someone dropped the ball real hard. I don't even know where to start. The plot of the movie is abridged incredibly. It's barely told to the viewer. Sora and his companions spend the entire time, and I shit you not, the entire time, going back up and down, back and up again from the fucking mountain. It's almost a pantomime. It gets even lampshade later on. They get to witness the entirety, and I mean the entirety, of the Let It Go musical sequence from beginning to end. Yes, I know that the idea behind is that we managed to recreate a sequence in game format. Look how great our engine and our art style capabilities are. But it's so...
And it means that it won't be copywritten, thankfully, whenever gamers do playthroughs.
Well, not just that. Speaking of copyright, people noted that in the 1.0 version of the game, before it was patched out, someone at Square Enix forgot to renew the license of their 3D editing software, because in that specific sequence alone there were a bunch of watermarks about that, and people wondered what the fuck happened to that.
I swear.
I got it. That's what Elsa would have done if she was still the villain. Just put watermarks in everywhere.
First I'm hearing of that.
But it gets even better, and by that I mean worse. Because the plot is super abridged, a lot of the characters are completely cut away, like, the Weselton Guard, for example. Anna, Kristoff, and Olaf are present, but they barely are a factor into the movie. Hans is present, but he never says a single word. All of his actions are happening either off-screen or in scenes where he doesn't have to talk. And for some reason, instead of Elsa, you get fucking Marshmallow as your party member.
It was insane. Like, I get it that there's this plotline where, maybe Elsa might be one of the new princesses of Heart. Don't worry, that doesn't really go much places.
It's so pedestrian, and it makes me wonder who dropped the ball, because it is the same game, but bothered instead to have adaptations from Pixar movies, Toy Story and Monsters Inc., then instead are super rich and access proper sequels or interquels to respective product in a more organic way. But instead we have on the other spectrum spectrum, words like that, or Tangled, as I mentioned, or arguably, well, Big Hero 6 is kind of like the missing link in between the two, so I'm not counting Tangled yet, but which are just shallow adaptations of that. Easily, some of the lamest work done just to cash in on the popularity of the movie. Like,
I swear, there
to the point
needs
where
to be a
people are
what.
speculating if this is the same process that is gonna happen for the words in Kingdom Hearts 4. No wonder that game is taking so long, and people are speculating that Disney might be actually considering dropping the support of the franchise entirely, because that's a speculation that's happening by the time we're recording. We'll have to see how that works. With all my luck, we might get a trailer at the Game Awards, so here's egg on my face potentially in the future. My point being, they had one of the easiest jobs to adapt this in Kingdom Hearts because we didn't talk about it, but with all the elements present into it, yeah, this was gonna be a no-brainer in terms of action, powers, limited locations, and everything. And yet they still managed to fuck that up.
It's insane, really. But like Kingdom Hearts 3 in general is something I have words, so many words to say, because I remember the wait. I remember the buildup. I remember the hype, but mostly, I remember the waiting and a lot of the disappointment. I've made some peace with Kingdom Hearts 3, but that doesn't mean I give it a pass for a lot of the potential that got wasted with it. But this isn't a Kingdom Hearts 3 retrospective, so final thoughts, shall we?
I don't think the movie's all that great, but it's not bad or anything. I mean, I do think a lot of effort's gone into it. It just kind of fumbles at times, especially with stuff near the end.
So, are you like me and you agree it's good, but you think it got heavily overrated at the time?
Yeah, pretty much. Is there much comparison between this and Tangled, to be honest?
Quite a bit, as in they were the new...
extent,
Okay, this and Tangled did get compared a lot since they were the relatively, at the time, newest additions to the Disney Princess franchise. Not so much Frozen, because later they changed their minds on Elsa and Anna, but most people, myself included, figured they were part of the Disney Princess lineup. But no, like, they were like stuff that went hand in hand. Rapunzel and Eugene even do show up in this movie, technically, so technically canon and whatnot. Like, for a lot of people, they are considered hand in hand. These mystical takes on old princess tales that were sort of a return to form for Disney after they'd kind of moved away from Disney princess stories for, I think possibly since the Renaissance era.
well,
don't
remember,
recall...
Princess the Frog was 2008.
2007.
No. Princess and the Frog was 2009. That was like that was when we were in the revival era, essentially.
Well, it was still after the Renaissance era.
Well, my point is, like, for like all of the experimental era, I don't think we ever got a Disney princess movie.
Okay, let's go in order. We had Fantasia 2000, Dinosaurs, Chicken. No, Chicken. Was there something between Dinosaurs and Chicken Little? Right, the Emperor's New Groove. Well, it's
Wasn't
not
Treasure Planet in 2002?
correct. Yes. Emperor's New Groove, you can make the argument is very loosely based on the Emperor's New Clothes, but that's not really a good enough comparison anyway. The views, opinions expressed by Christoph in the movie, with all men with their own boogers, are solely his own. Ah, cute. We need to put a disclaimer and says, no, we're not misanthropists.
Video games available from Disney. Wait, was there a Frozen video game?
As me and Jova
Yes,
noted,
we
yes,
mentioned
the one
the
on
Olaf one.
Yes.
Again, this was sadly around the time Disney weren't doing full-on adaptations of games, since, it was mostly just handheld stuff, and we got maybe sometimes like Disney Infinity or the Disney Racing game, but not really video games based off the movies. Hey, Marshmallow.
Limping.
But it's
Oh,
okay, because Elsa left her crown. Can feel as pretty as he feels.
hooray.
He never shows up in the sequel. I don't know
He
why.
died.
He died on the way back to his own planet. Well, to be fair, that's the thing. Elsa restored Summer, so yeah, he probably died in between.
Unless
Yeah.
unless that castle's like up on the mountaintop high enough that he can stay with the snow.
I guess.
Just to
Go on.
briefly finish off my final thoughts, I mean, the singing's at least very good. I mean, it's a musical; it kind of has to be, unless you're Mamma Mia, the first movie.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the songs. I legit do wonder if Let It Go is like 70% of the reason that this movie became as big as it was.
Possibly.
What do you think, Tio and Shiroi?
I mean, you can make the argument that there are many factors on what propelled this into popularity. The color palette might be already just one alone. But no, to answer your question, yeah, the song definitely was helpful on that front. Again, it became possibly the most referenced song, Disney song in the entire repertoire at that point. And then we had the whole kind of subversion gag in Zootropolis as Zootopia, which feels more like, patting one's own back more than anything. But hey, I guess it would be better than just do nothing. I don't know.
So, but yeah, overall, I think it's a solid enough film overall. I'm not sure if when we'll get to the sequel or
Don't
Frozen Fever.
Don't forget also about the Christmas special with Olaf. I guess next year maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, there are a few specials of this series that I guess we'll have to figure out how we tackle one way or another.
All right, that's me done.
All right. I still think this movie is fine enough. Like the songs are really good. And like it's a pretty simple movie, but I still had like enough of a good time watching it. A lot of the stuff is not foreshadowed very well, as already discussed. It wasn't even the first to do a lot of what it did, and it did overshadow some stuff. And I know I'm very Tangled biased, so I don't know. You can ignore that comment if you want. I barely remember the sequel, to be honest, so that'll be interesting to rewatch. I do like what they do with the ending, but I do agree that it isn't earned as much as it should be, because I think what they could have done, because obviously Elsa and Anna aren't in the same room for most of the movie, and I'm not like talking about when they're both at home before the coronation, like when they're going through to find Elsa. I don't understand why they didn't do a back and forth between Elsa's POV and Anna's POV for this.
That would
I feel
have
like
actually
that
been
would
cool,
be much
yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Because like they wouldn't be in the same room, but we'd get to see some sense of how both of them are feeling. But we pretty much spend most of the movie only with Anna, and I feel like it would have been a fairly easy fix. Yep, that's it. The still pretty decent movie. Quite a few problems though.
All right then, Tio.
Okay, first I will discuss about the movie itself. It's not the worst movie Disney ever made. Don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand my thoughts as me thinking of that, because I still believe Chicken Little really is the bottom of the barrel. Because at the very least, Home on the Range has actually good looking animation, if you ask me. But Chicken Little not only has a putrid story, but it also has putrid animation. Holy
Chicken
shit.
Little got lucky that it was cashing in on the trends of a time about how people were more into CGI and more crass films, essentially.
Because
it shows
Shrek became popular, yeah.
It shows how age has not been kind to it since, I think outside of Once Upon a Studio, I don't think Disney really bring it up much. Like, at most, you will get people legit confused at his involvement in Kingdom Hearts 2 these
Remember,
days.
that was apparently promotion for the movie in Japan, apparently. Anyway, as I said, this is really not the worst movie that Disney has ever made. Do I think it's overrated? Yes. Do I think it's extremely overrated? No, not really. I think Lion King fits a bit more on that statement, but that also in itself doesn't mean that the movie is completely bad. I will still take Tangled over this because Tangled seems to have a lot more sincerity going on, even if it changes drastically the source material. While instead, taking it outside of the basic fact that as an adaptation, this sucks, not even as an origin story for the Snow Queen, it really is just in name only. But as an original story, it has the basics, but argue it suffers from having too much stuff poured into it. Because, again, the movie wants to focus about Elsa's growing up and having to confront her powers, Anna's confronting about that. At the same time, Emma wanting a relationship with this guy that showed up, which also needs to have some kind of personality established. Then we have to elaborate on more on Elsa's powers, and subsequently also elaborate a calling back to the trolls from the beginning. Then we need to elaborate on the character of Kristoff and his reindeer sidekick. Then we also need to have Olaf into the mix as the comedy sidekick for the younger in the audience. Then we need to reveal the fact that there's a villain out of nowhere, while the movie seemed to have only hinted at the Duke of Weselton fitting that role up until that point. You get what I mean. It starts becoming more and more of a mess. Some stuff needed to be trimmed out in some fashion. Cuts.
Or this movie needed to have like more runtime to better
It
balance out
really, at
stuff.
the end of the day, it really screams to me the fact that this movie had a lot, and had been a lot of rewrites happening to it. The company has to be very lucky that the final product was still that successful for them. Like, having a huge sigh of relief because, you get the idea that if there is a parallel universe where this did not work and possibly made the company bankrupt potentially, I do wonder. Yes,
It's always interesting to look back at moments where Disney, of all companies, could have become bankrupt. Like, these day and ages, it feels like they can eat failure after failure and still make their money back. But it's interesting to think that back in the Dark Age, back in the Renaissance, arguably even back in the 2010s where they were still, rebalancing after the big Lucasfilms purchase, there were moments where indeed they had to worry about potentially being shuttered. It's just insane to imagine a world without Disney. Although it's funny you mention how you feel like this movie is the way it is because Disney didn't have the most faith in it. Ironically, then, I guess that was the opposite for Frozen 2. They had a bunch of crunch and pressure because Disney had way too much expectations out of the sequel.
And like at least I theorized, it's probably also the reason why we never got a crossover episode in the Tangle series, because again, Disney is very protective of this specific IP, so they probably did not want to insert, a special that might have felt canon with people, even though they had no problem for Elsa to appear in Wreck-It Ralph 2 as a cameo with the other
Disney.
princesses. So
Yeah, Disney have been very weird about crossovers. Like, supposedly they're the reasons that most Disney characters can't meet each other in the Kingdom Hearts games. Apparently, they're the reason we haven't gotten, like, a new House of Mouse series, because for some reason they don't like the idea of their characters crossing over. I don't understand or get it.
Nor do I really want to, if I have to be honest, especially considering some of their recent choices. But to get back on track, I already made no secret that I'm not a fan of the songs. Not as a musical, not a detester, but as someone who doesn't genuinely care much about musical numbers, this is the prime, purest example of mute fast forward. In my case, the problem is that he composes most of the movie, so I'm shit out of luck, kind of like with Cats 2019. So I will just say the obvious statement that the people involved with these composers, the actual singers, everyone did their job correctly and clearly poured their heart and soul into it, and I'm clearly not the target audience. Simple as. The animation, like I said, has aged fine for the most part, but I get the idea it's now starting to showcase a couple of imperfections for that it was made in 2013. It really is a testament of how fast technology is evolving, and even stuff that we didn't thought it was then noticeable back then nowadays starts to crop up potentially. Interestingly enough. And like I said, the plot overall is too much of a mess, though. That really is the core thing that would have been fixed, that should have been fixed. We'll have to see how Frozen 2 actually handles that. But before passing to your final thoughts, Jova, there is something that didn't even wanted to potentially talk about this. It is something that I did not wanted to discuss, but it is something that happened nonetheless, and I think we'll be remiss not at least having to address this that happened, and it's connected to what I wanted to say before. There's a part of me that wonders if one of the early drafts of the story did had Elsa and Anna being best friends from childhood rather than actually sisters. The movie clearly wants to have a parallel between difference in social classes, Hans and Kristoff instead being of different, places in society, but clearly showcasing where the right heart is and everything. And the movie did felt strange a bit to me by having both sisters still to be treated as royalty, but at the end of the day having Elsa being showcased, despite being still royalty, still be confined for the most part because of her powers, the way how hastily it was handled. So I do wonder if originally Elsa was supposed to be maybe someone from another royal family, or like the daughter of a core magicians or something like that, and they had to rework that. Why am I saying that? Because if I remember correctly, this was the movie that did started the whole meme about interviews in pre-release, where there's speculation about Disney is having its first gay character going around. And these have unfortunate implications about it. We briefly talked about that in when we did Maleficent.
Unfortunately, some people would run with those.
Yeah, here's the thing. My tinfoil hat in this, like I said, is that originally one early draft did had Elsa and Anna being childhood friends rather than sisters. But someone in the executives, seeing the final draft of the movie with that in mind, thought, oh shit, people might start to get quote unquote the wrong idea and start to potentially think that the movie is promoting a gay couple instead of actually straight, even though we had also that final kiss with Kristoff at the end. So what should we do? The thing that the media industry tends to do when it comes to these kind of cases, associate potential, connotations with queerness, with what is perceived by society for different reasons, as degeneracy, in this case, incest. After all, this is what happened, if you recall, with the double Sailor Moon, by having Harry and Mitchell be turned into cousins. Now, again, this is really just tinfoil hat, I have nothing to prove on this, but it feels really weird and how specific it is, that it almost feels like it was that programmed, because they were thinking, oh, if we do this, that will clearly discourage the fan base to do so. Unfortunately, it didn't. And now, look, it's clear that the people who actually engage in this kind of thing are bad and clearly are having bad thoughts about it. But I do wonder if this scenario is true, Disney has some kind of responsibility on the matter. But again, like I said, I have nothing to prove.
I would like to add something specific. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some truth to that. Again, obviously, there's no concrete proof, but a lot of the way like Elsa is treated and how she perceives herself and like the world around her speaks to a very queer experience.
Yeah, I
Conceal, don't feel, stay in the you-know-what.
Like, there's a reason people latched onto at least some kind of queer undertone to it. Whether that was the original draft of the movie or not, again, we don't know. But I wanted to add that coming from,
yeah,
obvious places. Yeah. So go ahead, Jova.
It does also help that, Elsa is played by Idina Menzel, who came from Wicked, which a lot of people have definitely gotten LGBTQ vibes from as well. So let me actually get to my final thoughts on this movie. Frozen is a good film. Frozen certainly earned its stripes here. I will say I'm kind of the opposite of Tia, though. Whereas I feel that Lion King got relatively the right amount of praise, I do feel like Frozen was definitely overrated. And this is partly because, whereas Lion King just inspired them to make bigger, better films, but were still unique, Frozen, at least the message Disney took from Frozen was, let's try and replicate that and put that into a lot of our other fantasy stories or movies in general, essentially. Let's be more subversive to the point where it was a subversion to not be subversive, essentially. But enough about what it may have triggered. That's not entirely Frozen's fault in and of itself. What about Frozen itself as a movie? I think it's a genuinely good movie. But I think it's really just that, a good movie. What I do think is amazing is the soundtrack. Until we get to Olaf's song. Again, Olaf's and the Troll songs aren't bad. They're just relatively good, essentially. The Lopez couple behind these, though, definitely earned their money with Let It Go. Like, again, even I may have been a bit annoyed by Let It Go being played everywhere, but I get why it was played everywhere. It's just that good a song, essentially. Arguably so good that they supposedly restructured the movie around it, essentially. Which, I'll admit, I'm a bit iffy on them not letting Elsa be a villain. How about that? That would also kind of lead to the era where Disney flaked on, some of their villains actually being villains, but regardless, though, I think even without Elsa being the villain, it works. What sadly doesn't work is Hans. Like, Hans is the one thing I will say is definitively bad about this movie. He is just not a good villain. He's not great for the twists, since, again, arguably a lot of his actions kind of contradict the notion of him wanting to take over. Now, one could say he was doing that to gain ultimate trust, essentially. Well, dude was risking a lot, since if Elsa didn't refuse to, end the winter, boom, she would have been there in command, and it would have been a lot harder for him to explain trying to kill her, essentially. Maybe he was trying to get her good favor. It's just, it feels like the plot is more lucky for him up until, the very end when Anna stops him from killing Elsa, essentially. Kristoff is neat, though I'm just going to say this about Kristoff. As soon as he gets Anna back home, he kind of doesn't really get to do anything else when you think about it. Oh yeah, he tries to help, but he doesn't reach on in time, so, it really feels like Kristoff was just used as a chess piece to add to the subversion. Look, it's not true love's first kiss that, saved the day. It was, again, the love between two sisters. What a shockaroo, essentially. That being said, the visuals have aged well. This movie still looks good. I do agree with you. It's such a missed opportunity we never got a crossover between this and Tangled, because they're two good properties, and it would be interesting to really see what world we could live in. Hell, who knows? Maybe we could see an expansion and it turns out that every princess in this world has special powers at some point. Rapunzel has her hair powers, Elsa's got the ice powers, maybe there's a fire princess or an earth-bending princess or something like that. God, if Disney ever buys Nickelodeon, I guess maybe we can assume Toph would be introduced as that. But I digress, though. Now, I do think this is a good movie. Just one that got heavily overrated, and again, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of a sequel, but who knows? Frozen 3 and Frozen 4 might be much better, essentially.
Well, that means we still have to wait for the actual Christmas Day, and you know what? I'm kinda getting enough of this shit. All this goodness in the heart of people. I don't understand why anyone would enjoy heroes with this kind of quality. I much prefer concepts such as anti-hero, edginess, depression. So you know what? I'm gonna go grab a gun and go to Tokyo.
Don't forget the bike.
Well, crud, in that case, Shuri, we have to go to space to stop him somehow.
Jeez,
Christmas
all this work
Day-
for Christmas.
For Christmas days and for Christmas miracles, heroes shall rise again, obliterating everything that's not our friends.
May or may not contain scenes of someone pissing on the moon.
Well, whichever way, you just gotta live and learn.
Shut
For this
up.
Christmas, be all of you.
See ya.
See ya.
See you then.